Rachel,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is episode 13 of Books and Bingos. This week, we're recommending books that represent the great outdoors. So, Amanda, what are some of your favorite outdoor activities?
I feel like those two things don't go together for me. I am not an outdoorsy person whatsoever. So, walking from my house to my car. No, I'm just kidding. I guess if it's outdoors, lately I've been really trying hard to work on a tan of some sort because I'm super, super white. And so I am trying to go back to school in the fall with somewhat of a tan. So I guess for me, it would be like laying out by the pool or just laying out in general. What about you?
Well, I don't tan. This does not tan. I have a lot of Irish heritage. It doesn't tan, it just burns. So
Yes.
I avoid the sun at most opportunities. But I do like swimming in the pool. I like being out in the woods a little bit for like a calm walk. I am not a intense hiker by any means, but I'm gonna have some fun stories today about the outdoors for you. So just
Okay, let's go.
yes. All right. Go ahead and tell us about your first pick.
I read Just Keep Walking by Erin Soderberg Downing. Erin's written like a bunch of books. Like I think it's like in the 70s or something. And she's somebody I've kind of heard of, but I felt like wasn't getting enough attention. And when this book came out, my the other middle school librarian in my school district she read it and she was like, "Hey, we need to put this on our book battle list for the next school year for 24-25." So, I brought it home for the summer and I read it in one sitting because I just could not put it down. This is a middle grade adventure book about a girl that is dealing with her father leaving their family, like totally out of the blue, to join another family. He, I think, had been having an affair that had been alluded to and just straight up moved in with this woman and spends time with her kids now. And even though he had promised her that they would go for this 100+ mile hike by Lake Superior before she goes into seventh grade, like he did with her older brother. He cancels on Joe so that he can spend time with his girlfriend's kids. So the mother steps in, and she is not outdoorsy, but she very much wants to make this hike come to reality for her daughter, who's been dealing with a lot in the past few years about this whole issue. And so throughout the hike, which takes about 2 weeks, to do 100+ miles, by the way, like it's insane. Um, Joe works through a lot of her feelings and her trauma and issues, sometimes with her mom, sometimes on her own. And it just was very powerful to read about this girl who felt down and out so many times. Like, I don't know, like between the blisters and the horrible food on the trail and the weather conditions and the treacherous terrain, like she keeps going. And it was just so motivating. And I just think so many of our students are going to read this and feel like they can do anything because she kept telling herself she had to make it through the hike and not only make it, but go further than her dad did with her older brother so that she could prove something. And then in the end, she ends up proving something to herself. And so the secondary characters that join them halfway through are this sapphic couple that really support Joe in her journey and end up helping her throughout the end. And I also loved that reading that in June for Pride. The content warnings are blood, injury, divorce, which is a theme, and infidelity, like I mentioned, which is kind of just assumed. This would work for middle grade square, the realistic, and new release because it came out in February, so that could still be a new release.
Oh, fantastic. I really like hiking books I have discovered, and they always give me this very false sense of like, I can do this.
Right?
And I'm pretty sure I would not make it one day on a
No.
trail. So I love reading them, and then it brings me back
And
down to
then back to
reality.
reality. Exactly.
Yes.
Like I read it in the beginning and she's having these horrible, horrible, horrible adventures. And I'm like, never in my life. But by the end, she'd gotten used to it. She could go further every day. She was stronger. And I was like, I could totally do this. But yeah, I know myself, and that's just not gonna be something that I do, but still very powerful.
Maybe we'll plan a hike together. We could both
Yes.
of us can go out.
Yes.
We'll write a book
we'll
about
try to
it.
survive.
All right, my next pick is Be Prepared by Vera Brosgol, and this is a middle grade graphic novel. This is one of my favorite ones, my favorite graphic novels. I recommend it all the time to my kids. This is perfect for fans of Raina Telgemeier, Cece Bell, Victoria Jameson, all the ones that fly off the shelves in every library across this country. This one follows our main character. She's jealous. All of her friends are going to these kind of rich, fancy camps, and her mom sends her to a more realistic Russian-based camp. She is a Russian American, and it's a lot more than she imagined. My favorite scene is dealing with the outhouse. It's disgusting, but it's just really funny, and it's totally realistic because I that's always where I'm like, no, I could not go in a wooden box where there's probably critters, and no thank you, none of the camping. But it is kind of like what you mentioned in your first book. It's a lot of her kind of finding herself and discovering that she is stronger than what she thought she is. She's important, she matters, and it's really cute book. It's really funny. I think it's the perfect camp story. I mean, I feel like most people will be able to relate to this. There's a content warning for bullying, and this will work for middle grade realistic and graphic novel squares.
I love that book. Like, that's just one that I can reread and recommend all the time. You're right. It is
Yes.
a universally adored graphic novel, and I just love the author's humor a lot too, and
Yes.
the
And the
rustic
cover,
representation.
the
Yes,
cover
the
is
cover.
perfect for this because as soon as you see the cover, you know what you're in for.
She's
It-
miserable. Like,
yes, it's perfect.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so we just did two middle grade picks, and I'm gonna shift a little bit now to an adult romance that I read for this. And it's called Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. And this one, if I grew up in like the 80s, 90s watching Romancing the Stone and Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Goonies and all of these like really adventure book movies. And I just love them. And so anytime I see anything compared to like any of those movies, I'm in. So I've actually had this one on my TBR for a long time, and I was so excited to pick it up for this topic for this week. So it follows Dr. Corey Mejia, and she is a anthropologist that is been working really hard her entire professional career to get some sort of recognition. A lot of people laugh her off because she's Latina, because she's curvy and a woman, right? And she believes that her ancestor, Chamali, he is an ancient warrior in Mexico, and her whole career has been trying to find his remains. So when she gets the opportunity to join a dig that's already working on this, she jumps at the chance to show up and do the work and find his gravesite. However, when she gets there, her super sexy nemesis, Dr. Ford Matthews, is actually leading the team. And she didn't know that. And she was purposefully not told that because he knew she wouldn't come. But she is the expert in this and he needs her. They had a falling out in grad school when he ended up taking the job that she should have had after graduation. So there's a lot of tension and animosity between the two at the beginning. But as they go through the jungle and look for Chumali's grave and the knife that he had when he died, they end up spending time in one another's tents, if you get my meaning. So this one is content warnings for cancer, parental death, discussed, injury, blood, slut shaming, misogyny, bullying, which is mostly her telling of her growing up experiences with that. This would fit in a series because there is going to be a second one coming out in the fall. Not with these two characters specifically. They will be in it, but not as the main trope or main love interests. And it could also work for realistic, or there is a thriller mystery involved as well when someone starts to try to take over the dig and steal what they have found. So it was very nice and spicy. So
I'm so excited for this one. I've had my eye on it for a while. I just haven't had time. It reminds me of that movie that came out with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
yes,
I can't remember what the name of that movie
No,
was.
but it was so cute. It was
Yeah.
just like this. Yeah,
Yes.
I
And
loved
that's
it.
I love everything about this. I'm in. I'm excited for this one. Like you said, I was so excited to see that this is going to be like a series now. Like
Yes.
I
Oh
think
my
this is
gosh. I already
perfect.
downloaded the arc and I just need to read it now. So,
I gotta put this in my TBR soon. I need to get to it.
and you have an adult recommendation next too.
I do. This would work really for anybody. It's definitely geared towards adults. Like that was the intended audience, but content wise, fine for anybody. It's called Wild Walking, A Guide to Forest Bathing Through the Seasons by Melanie Chaukas-Bradley. This is based around like Japanese practice of experiencing nature through your senses called Shinrin Yoku. This book features kind of an introduction background to this idea, how it's coming to fruition in Japan. They're actually creating these areas, these forest bathing areas next to a lot of old folks' homes, essentially, to get them out in nature and reaping all the benefits of being in nature. It gives you ideas for your first walk, suggestions of what to pack, and further reading suggestions, which is wonderful. They suggest finding a certified forest therapy guide yourself and going on one of these, which I did. As soon as I finished this book, I looked it up, and there happened to be a certified forest therapy guide doing a forest bathing excursion, like literally probably 20 minutes from my house. So it
Wow.
was fantastic. We have this little like museum slash forest area, and that's where it was held. And I have to say, not an outdoorsy girl, so the outdoors part just about killed me, but it was a lot of fun. Besides me, like, hoofing it up this little mountain cliff, I think it was a lot of fun of just being in nature. And I mean, literally at one point, like she gave us all these quote unquote invitations to be at one with nature. And one of them was just literally to pick a tree that's calling to us and commune with the tree. Like my mom wasn't having it, but it was kind of fun. And I think what you have to go into, I feel like with a lot of the books I pick, it's like there's a level of like woo wooiness to it that some people just overlook. They're like, no, this is not for me. But it's like you take out of it what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had like while I was communing with my tree, I was thinking about the connection of the trees underground and how they're supposed to be able to like talk to each other and like warn each other of like diseases and things, and just how that means, that it reflects a lot of us. Like we're all connected. So I think you take out of it what you want. We did do some things that were like, oh, if I'm doing my own nature walk, I probably wouldn't do this. This is a little extreme. But again, I think that's what's really nice about a book like this is it gives you a lot of the information. And if you feel comfortable, you can kind of craft your own forest bathing experience. If you're not comfortable, I would suggest finding this therapy guide somewhere around you and trying one and then going from there. But it's all about getting out in the world and, just reaping the benefits of nature. And I have to say, this book in particular, there's a lot of guides to forest bathing out there, but this one, the illustrations are phenomenal. I mean, it's just such a beautiful book. This is one I'm going to want to buy. This comes out, well, this probably already is out by the time you're listening to this. It comes out June 4th. So it works for new release and for nonfiction.
That is so interesting. I love that you read that and then went and did something about it. Like that is something I probably need to do more of. Maybe we should do a challenge for that, for something, because
And
I feel
forest
like,
bathing.
well, just yeah, just like or read a book and then go do something about that book, right? So when Marie
Oh,
Kondo came out with her, Simplify Your Life, which
yeah.
I'm not a fan of the books that she says to only keep five or whatever. That's nonsense. But I liked that everyone was kind of adapting that after they read or watched the show or whatever. I just think that's so neat to like, read something and it inspires you to do something like hiking or,
Yes.
free bathing. That is so neat. I love that.
And I think these outdoor books are perfect for that because I mean, you can just step outside your front door if nothing else. I
You're
mean,
right. Yes.
everybody has some outside close to them, even if it's not, forest or whatever. You can go outside and get fresh air and hear the birds, hopefully, see the
Yeah.
sky. So
Yeah. Um,
perfect.
one of my elementary schools, they did Wish Tree for one tree, one book, or one book, one school. And I think that would be really cool to pair with that. If you've never read Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate, it deals with how trees are connected and how they talk to each other. And so that would be a really neat thing to pair with a class novel or a whole school novel if you're reading that. So that'd be cool. I
For
love that.
sure. For sure. And those are our recommendations for the week. If you would like to share your recommendations or request a theme to be highlighted in a future show, reach out on social media at Books and Bingos or email us at booksandbingos@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week when we'll be recommending new books coming in July. Happy reading!